I get asked quite often what my favorite Fallout game is, or to like rank them in order, or what my top 3 are. And I've made Fallout tier lists before, you know, the tier list of the Fallout games or their DLCs, but those opinions change over time, and they are different, obviously, from when I was a kid, because some games weren't released back then, and they exist now, but also just the time that you have with them. I always feel like I'm most nostalgic for the classic games, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I think they're the best. But I wanted to kind of go through and make a ranking of all the Fallout games, how I feel about them now, where I put them on my own personal list. A lot of people ask me this question, so I figured it'd be interesting to actually kind of go through it and see how I feel about that. So this is going to be a video kind of going from what Fallout game I think is the worst to what Fallout game I think is the best. And it's just really a personal opinion situation. It'll be judged off of many different things. Sometimes it'll be story, sometimes it'll be gameplay, sometimes it'll kind of be nostalgia. We'll see. Though I do try to leave nostalgia out of these things, it's almost impossible to when you're dealing with something that you're so nostalgic about. So for me, nostalgia does play into this list a little bit, but it also, I try to keep it a little bit fair, like when it comes to that, because nostalgia can be something that makes things not quite as fair. It makes things more biased towards something. So I did try to give credit where credit was due on some things here. At least actively, that's what I tried to do. I'm sure there will be people in the comments that will absolutely disagree with this list. Please tell me about it. I'm fine with that. I like talking about it. I especially like talking about it with people who don't feel the same way I do, because that's interesting. But if you do feel the same way I do, hey, let me know about it too. So let's kick this off. If I use the official list of Fallout games that have been released, this game does appear on it as Fallout Pinball, but in reality, it's like Pinball FX3. I've had this on Xbox, on my Xbox One forever, and I always thought it was cool that Bethesda had pinball boards in this game. Now, I'm putting this at the very beginning of the list. It's not necessarily bad. If you like pinball games, this is a terrific pinball simulator. It's really fun, but when it comes to being a Fallout game, it's very clearly the furthest away from a Fallout game out of every single game on this list. So I didn't feel comfortable putting it any higher, even though I have a ton of fun with it. I think it's really fun, and if you like pinball, you like games like this, this is definitely one to look for. It's super cool. If you like Skyrim, Doom, Fallout 4, they have those boards. It's really nice. But yeah, it's going to be at the beginning of this list, and the only reason it's at the beginning of this list is because the official list of like released Fallout games lists this as a spin-off, and so I'm putting it on the list too. Up next is going to be everybody's favorite punching bag in the Fallout series, the edgy edgelord teen version of Fallout, and that would be Fallout Brotherhood of Steel. This was available for PlayStation 2 and the original Xbox. I have a version of it on the original Xbox, and we've streamed it before. And you know what? There is fun to be had in this game, but there's too many red flags when it comes to it being a Fallout game. You have the partnership with Ball's Guarana, Ball's energy drink. They remove Nuka-Cola completely from the game and instead replace it with Ball's energy drink, and with that, the lore behind that is that in Texas, Nuka-Cola didn't catch on and Ball's energy drink did, so there's no Nuka-Cola. And then another thing that struck me as super weird while playing this game, there's like a poster on the side of a building, and it appears throughout the game, but you can see it in the first bit of the game, and it's just the poster of the first Fallout game. So it's like this like weird meta reference to Fallout, and it's weird. Like, I don't know, it's off-putting. The game the gameplay isn't necessarily super bad, and that's not what the problem is. It does get repetitive. It does get boring. The stuff, there's a lot of cringeworthy things inside this game, and I think that's what adds to that. But I think the main reason it gets such a low rating out there, there's two main reasons that I think that it happens amongst especially the Fallout fan base, but on a whole, they stole the Dark Alliance engine and got sued for it, for this game, And to take the Dark Alliance game and make such a shitty game is kind of weird. Like, you would think that it would be just based on that better, but then you also have, the egregious like misuse of the Fallout franchise when it comes to this game. But overall, was a bad idea. This action shooter in the Fallout universe, when it could have been something fun and lighthearted and whatever, it just didn't come off that way, and a lot of people didn't like it. And the PlayStation version is super bugged to the point where I don't even think you can actually complete the game due to a bug in the game. So, GG, Fallout Brotherhood of Steel is the first official Fallout game to be on this list, and in turn, what I think is the worst Fallout game. Fallout Shelter is going to have to take the next position on the list, not necessarily because it's a bad game. I know a lot of people enjoy this. I've enjoyed this myself, but as a Fallout game, it's not really what you're looking for. I think it's better than Fallout Brotherhood of Steel because at least it, maintains some kind of like actual aesthetic of Fallout where it looks like something that's related to Fallout. And there are some cool, after they've updated it a few times, there's some cool stuff to get up to. There's quests and things like that, but overall, when you really boil it down, it is a mobile game that's kind of designed for you to, free to play, but buy our lunch boxes, buy our stuff like that. And there's nothing wrong with that if you're into that kind of thing, because it doesn't try to deny what it is. It isn't trying to pretend to be something else. That is what it is. Like I said, I've had fun with it before. I've spent money on it before, and I've not felt like I've wasted my money because I had fun with it. So this is going to take this spot right after Brotherhood of Steel, simply because it's not technically what you would look for in an actual Fallout game, but it's a fun little mobile thing you can do if you're really into Fallout. Hey, I can also, fuck around with my vault, and here's Vault Boy. It's all good. So I'm going to have to put it in this spot. In perhaps the first controversial decision, I don't know, I just assume this might be the first controversial decision of the list, I'm going to have to put Fallout Tactics here. The reason I'm putting Fallout Tactics in this spot is, again, because it's not the typical Fallout game that I expect, that I want to play, you know what I mean? Like, this Fallout Tactics is something I had fun with. I think the story is very underrated. I think the gameplay can be fun in situations, and I played it a ton with my friends. You can do these little online skirmishes. We had a blast at LAN parties doing that kind of stuff, and at Wizards of the Coast and things like that. So it's not due to lack of fun or because the game is designed badly. It's because this is a list of my opinion, and to me, squad-based, like, it doesn't work for me in any game, really. I don't like it, but this like top-down isometric squad-based thing that I'm looking to play Fallout, and then I get that, so that's why it's getting this spot in the list. There are some of those games that I do like, and Tactics is definitely one of them. It's one of the ones that I can sit down and play and enjoy, but when I'm going to look to play a Fallout game, squad-based kind of action-oriented stuff like that isn't what I'm looking for. I'm looking more for a role-playing situation where I'm playing one character, going through quests, finding things. So that is why Tactics is taking that spot. Up next is Fallout 76. The reason Fallout 76 is here is because no matter how much it improves on itself, no matter how much it tries to maintain some like actual standard of becoming what people would really expect out of an online Fallout game, when it launched, I remember playing the beta and giving it passes. When I played the beta, I was like, okay, well, this is the beta, things are gonna change, things are going to be improved based on what we do in this beta and report back to Bethesda. But in reality, that didn't really take shape, and there was so many things broken on launch, there was so many different hurdles that Bethesda seemed to stumble over, that it left a permanent bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, me included. Now, has it become better with Wastelanders? Absolutely. Has there been improvements made throughout the lifespan of Fallout 76? Yes, and there's been some step back as well. But overall, because of all of those things that surround 76, I don't feel comfortable putting it much higher on this list, even if it is graphically superior to other games on the list, even if it is, of course, this enormous game world that you can interact with. There's truly amazing things going on there. You can interact with all these people. It's a really big game world. It's all in there. You know what I mean? Like, you're playing this Fallout game online, and there's something special about that. But it was riddled with too much negativity and too many bad steps, and for that it takes this spot just because when you release a game in that state, it sticks in people's heads. It sticks in people's heads the bad memories that they had, and 76 unfortunately is overall a bad memory for me, even when I come back to it and have fun with it. So there it sits at this part of the list. Another controversial opinion, but it's an example of me trying to remove nostalgia bias from this list. Fallout, the classic Fallout, OG Fallout, is going to be going here. Not because it's a bad game, it's one of my favorite games of all time, but I do think it's kind of archaic. I think that it has issues that Fallout 2 doesn't even have, and there's a lot of problems there when it comes to getting into the game. I love replaying it, but there's so many hurdles that you have to go. Like there's so many steps backwards you have to take. But it's an enjoyable game. That's not what I'm trying to say. The story is very good. It's the darkest in the Fallout series, in my opinion. When it comes to like main quest line stories, it's very bleak. I enjoy it big time, but I think the other games in the series build off of it well and improve on the formula. Not necessarily story wise, but maybe gameplay wise, graphically, of course. But I'm putting OG Fallout here to try to take nostalgia bias out of it and say, yeah, the other games in this list are probably a bit better than that. Fallout 3 is going here because I do think that it is an improvement from OG Fallout, I guess, if you look at graphically, if you gameplay, first person view. Like, I was a big fan of all of those things when I saw that Fallout 3 was announced through Bethesda. I was super stoked. I remember just being really excited about a first-person Fallout, being able to move around that world, experience it, be that much more immersed in the Fallout world. I think the main quest, looking back now, the main quest, it's a bit lacking, though. When we first just had Fallout 3, it didn't seem that egregious. It was like, okay, that's Fallout 3's story, though it is pretty much James's story. Your father in that game, the player character's father, is pretty much his story told through your eyes as a player character. But there's so many good side quests, there's so many good environment things to check out. The DLCs are amazing. There's just a lot of content there, and I really enjoyed it. And even though there are some things that I nowadays kind of go not so much, that's why it's taking this spot on the list, is because there are some things I don't like about Fallout 3, but overall I was so excited I was just stoked on it being announced. I was so stoked to play it. It was still, all of these games are pretty much some of my favorite games, but Fallout 3 definitely holds a place in my heart because it was the first time we experienced the Fallout world in that situation, first person, immersive like that. Really enjoyed it, but I enjoyed all these games in their own ways. So Fallout 3 takes this spot. In the most controversial opinion on this list, I am putting Fallout 2 here. And there's only 2 other games left, so you're kind of probably wondering, what? Why I expected Fallout 2 to be at the top of the list, or at least one higher. But no, Fallout 2 is going here, and here's why. Fallout 2's story, its main quest, is my favorite in the series. I love the story of Arroyo, the story of the Chosen One. I love the characters you meet along the way. Everything in it is just my favorite, but it's my favorite due to nostalgia. And again, I'm trying to remove nostalgia bias from this list. So I felt comfortable putting it here because I think it is better than all of the games I listed before. I think the story really knocks it up a notch. I think the environment really, it's just so good. I really can't overemphasize how much I think that Fallout 2's main quest is just like the pinnacle of the Fallout series. It's so fucking perfect. But that doesn't mean that the games later on weren't better in some ways, and I'm gonna get to that. But Fallout 2, though it holds the biggest place in my heart, I think due to graphically, I think due to age, due to the learning curve, the turn-based combat, that just all this kind of stuff that I know people have a problem with when they're trying to get into the classic games, I'm going to have to put it here because I do think that the story pushes it all the way up here. I do think the encounters and all the lore and all the locations, all of those things push it all the way up to here. But The next two games I do believe offer more in the sense of like gameplay and immersion and things like that, and we're going to get to it. So this is where Fallout 2 is going to be. The continuation of the most controversial opinion lies with Fallout 4 taking this spot. I know a lot of people might think that it's sacrilege that I would say Fallout 4 is better than 2, but I'm not necessarily saying that. I'm saying, I'm saying it in the sense of gameplay. I'm saying it in the sense of graphics. I'm saying it in the sense of audio design. Even though Mark Morgan's soundtrack's amazing, we're talking about world-class audio design here. A lot of things, but mainly the reason I'm saying this is because of the mod support and the mods that we get for Fallout 4. Now, I haven't really mentioned those throughout the list because there are some mods for Fallout 2, like the restoration patch. There's definitely mods for Fallout 3. But I think that Fallout 4's mod community and the mods that we've received, including possible remakes of other games that are on this list, I think that really pushes Fallout 4's replayability like through the roof. I think it looks beautiful. I think it's one of my favorite looking Fallout games. I think, well, obviously it's 76 I think looks good in times too. Not that weird blur that happens because of the depth of field that they throw in there, but the actual like design of the world looks really good. But also Fallout 4, you know, that's where 76 kind of got that from. Fallout 4's art design is great. I love the boosted saturation, all those things. But overall, I could play Fallout 4 forever because of the infinite loop that it puts you on and the radiant quests that are just, you know, we don't need to get into that. I understand the main quest of Fallout 4 I'm not a big fan of at all, though I do like the Institute as a faction, all that kind of thing. But I'm just saying, like, the main quest does feel shallow. I'm not trying to say that it's better than any of these other games. I'm just saying the gameplay and the mod support and all the things that we can actually do with it, Fallout 4 takes this spot. And last, but certainly not least, New Vegas. Of course, New Vegas is going to be at the top of my list for anybody who knows the channel, for anybody who has watched my streams or anything like that. New Vegas, I think, perfected the Fallout formula. Now, some people would say, whoa, this game's better than New Vegas, this game's better than New Vegas. And again, I must remind you that this is a personal list where I tried to remove nostalgia bias, and I definitely think that Fallout New Vegas absolutely perfected the formula for Fallout. I think the setting is perfect. I think the story is perfect. Well, perfect is a strong word. I think they're very good. And I think in the realm of the Fallout world, it works incredibly well. Again, I must bring up the mod support. The mods we get for New Vegas are fantastic, but the base game I think is better than all of the Fallout games in the past or future. They've just, well, I don't know about the future from now, but I'm saying the ones that were released since New Vegas. I think New Vegas is still above them when it comes to storytelling and immersion. I can't explain it enough. I'm sure I've heard a lot of people say the same thing, but I really think New Vegas takes the cake for many, many reasons. And you can remaster it yourself with ENBs and texture mods to make it look even better than Fallout 4 if graphics are the issue. It's just New Vegas takes the cake absolutely 100% of the time. Thank you for watching my ranking of the Fallout games in my own personal order. If you want to yell at me, do so in the comments. And if you want to yell at me more directly, join the Discord server. The link will be in the description below. I want to thank my patrons and YouTube channel members and give a special thanks to my biggest supporters: Kim Jong-un, Jared Silk, Stupendous Skellington, Hackerman, Irwin, Fireflare, Papa Swanson, Thomas, Laud Have Mercy, Death6199, Bill Scott Sheets, Broadway, Edgy, and Primark Mustard. Thank you guys so much for your continued support. Couldn't do it without you. It has been Mantis.
I gotta testify. Come up in the spot looking extra fly. For the day you die, you gon' touch the sky. You gon' touch the sky, baby girl. Testify. Come up in the spot looking extra fly. For the day you die, you gon' touch